Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a wonderful Wednesday so far. Today we're going to be diving into our daily cryptocurrency market update. We are, of course, absolutely going to be diving into the cryptocurrency space, looking at a number of different charts, going over the Bitcoin chart, looking at the total market cap for cryptocurrencies and showing you a scenario that I think may be likely to play out. Taking a little dive into Ethereum, Cardano, but we are also in this video going to be talking about markets generally and what's going on in the world. And, I've described my feelings towards markets currently as cautiously optimistic. I am indeed very optimistic, but cautiously so, because I still, I don't like how fast market sentiment is changing at the moment. And what I really don't like is just how tethered or dependent potentially markets are to the sort of Russia-Ukraine situation, because it seems like a situation that's volatile in its very essence and that could flare up at any moment. And when we've seen, we had the kind of initial shock of it all, we've kind of seen maybe a kind of getting used to it and then markets sort of resuming what they do. But I still think there is absolutely the threat of something else happening. It's been a very weird couple of years. It's been good for markets largely with all the stimulus that central banks around the world put out, but I still am very much aware of this situation. I'm doing extreme dives in terms of information related to this situation, how it may affect us moving forward. And one thing that I'm really watching is just how dependent certain countries in Europe are on Russia for mainly natural gas. Certainly, you got your three, which is Turkey, Italy, and of course Germany. And I think that, like I say, an escalation of this, Putin's come out and essentially said he wants to be paid in rubles for his natural resources. Now, that's already quite a tricky proposition, but we'll get into it all in this video, rather a long start, and then we'll be going over some news taking place within the cryptocurrency market. So let's take a look at the overall markets. Having a little bit of a rest, we have seen quite a significant advance from the sort of lows down here. For Bitcoin of still 36%. I think at one point it went even higher to around about 37. But if you take the low of this pullback, assuming that that is the low of this pullback and we don't go on to make a lower low, and this is just a relief rally, we did see a 45% run. And there's a few things we're watching again to fly over for people that are new to the channel. We've got the MACD weekly cross. We have shown you, and just for people who are also old to the channel, one thing that's interesting is whenever you have this MACD cross, you do get further price continuation, but it's not that uncommon that you kind of go sideways for a bit after it, if you see what I'm saying. So that's quite typically the case. Is that potentially what's happening now before we get that further continuation? Because the reason we highlight the MACD cross is to show you that you've got more upside coming. It's just, or certainly more upside coming in regards to historically, whenever this signal's flashed, you've had that. It's just that right now you're kind of potentially stalling, having a bit of a rest before we do get that continuation. But we are expecting continuation, providing everything on a kind of global macro scale behaves, which is something that I really am not a fan of. I don't like as an investor, as a trader, my market being so tethered to external things. But that's just the game that we're playing at the moment. And any ship looks good on calm waters. And when those waters start to get rough, it's not that hard to spot who's doing well and who isn't. So we have seen a nice little advancement. This is positive in regards to the daily candle, the way that you've got this wick to the upside. It is still a red candle. I would like to see it turn green. That would be extremely positive. But you've got this nice big buying wick here. Number of things going on internally. One thing that we're going to talk about very briefly a bit later on is not that. It's to do with the Luna Foundation, which is in charge of their USDT, essentially purchasing quite a bit of Bitcoin. I think this is a trend we're going to see continue throughout the crypto space. I think many of your layer twos, certainly the ones that have issued stable coins on top of them, are going to start adding Bitcoin to their treasury, kind of mimicking what's going on in the real world, if you will. But I wouldn't be at all annoyed if we came back, saw a retest of this before continuation, and kind of flip what was resistance as support You know, that's something that I'd quite like to see. In fact, I'd be trading that if I did see it. But where we are right now, you know, this is a tricky zone. We've been in this zone for over a year now, this kind of range, and you are at a very, very significant level here, guys. Can you see this? I've perfectly placed my tool there. This kind of range here was what potentially you had a failing of this break us right the way down. It's a very significant level that's played out, you know, multiple times. It's quite a tricky area that we're in, and we need to pay attention to that. So that's really the majority of what's going on for Bitcoin. Optimistic, bullish, I would say, but cautiously given the kind of world events that are taking place, and just uncertainty generally. I mean, we've got some amazing content coming out for you guys where we're moving, we're not just talking about crypto, we're talking about the economy as a whole and the kind of game that we are all, many of us, born into in regards to life and money. But I will save that for another video. So when I look at the total two doesn't look bad at all. And there's plenty of examples where you've actually made marginally higher highs before getting that continuation. And where I would kind of, a similarity that I kind of see is this capitulation event here, which of course was March 2020, which was a huge capitulation event in a similar fashion to what we had in May, which of course Bitcoin led. There was quite a bit of Asian selling pressure there. You know, are we setting up, and I think potentially we are, for a similar kind of move, you know, where we kind of trend upwards, you know, we kind of range bound, and then we see after breaking this, I mean, imagine when we go on to make new all-time highs, just the FOMO that ensues. And crypto, again, is at an extremely pivotal point where it is. Yesterday, we looked at the fact that, look, regulation's coming, and it's my belief that it's going to be the very driver behind that next level of adoption and huge continuation in this bull market like perhaps we haven't seen previously. Because when the US regulates it, they've said that they're going to bring $11 billion by 2032 in terms of revenue from the cryptocurrency space, which leads me to believe they're not going to harshly regulate it and in fact allow it to flourish so that they can tax it and monetize it, etc. What that does by them regulating it is give Wall Street the green light to pump it. And then we have a whole different worry that, okay, they're artificially going to inflate a bubble like they always do and then crash it and herd us all into CBDCs. But I am rambling on way too much now, guys. I've just got so much going on in my head in regards to this space and thinking about it all, trying to put all the moving parts together. It can be often easier said than done, but there's so much going on. So this is kind of what I'm looking for within the total too. You know, when you go on and do you make that potential higher high within this trend, you know, you could even see a situation where you go like this and then pop out. But I you know, we're already seeing the FOMO and the sentiment shift. Imagine when you get to new all-time highs, it'll be like euphoria. And it'll be a kind of confirmation that, look, not only are we having and we've called this is the structure you want to see in your super cycle, which is something that we've been looking at for a while now, guys. But we have been a huge ambassador and follower of the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory, which kind of got invalidated for a number of reasons. Ethereum looks good. This was the kind of pattern that we had set out ages ago for Ethereum before we had even made this break, and you seem to be following it quite nicely. Again, on your weekly, you've got your, I think these guys have actually, no, they've not quite made a MACD bullish cross yet, but it does look like it is going to. Cardano, you guys know the story. We keep you informed daily. Huge things coming for ADA. You know, they're just getting their sort of smart contracts or their dApps ecosystem built. I think this is going to be a major driver for the price. Back to this situation. The invasion of Ukraine has serious unintended consequences for Russia. Here I just found it's not the unintended consequences for Russia necessarily, although, you know, there are huge consequences for Russia. It's more the rest of the world. You know, we're already seeing the consequences of this situation. In the UK, we're noticing extreme prices rising, and you know, I kind of worry about the economy generally with all of this because we're already treading on eggshells before this had even become a thing, given monetary policy action and a number of other things. This is just like, you know, a potential tip over the edge in regards to the fact that, you know, this is going to cause a huge rise in price. We got the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, the inflationary stats. and they are already high. I don't think they've anywhere near topped yet. I think we're going to see double-digit inflation in the US, potentially in the UK. We saw a huge jump up in the UK, and this is going to be a factor of it. And okay, the UK, I'm not sure how much. I think it's under 10%, quite a bit under 10%. We're dependent on Russia for the likes of oil, but it's still significant, and it factors through. And I'm just worried about the situation in regards to how it's going to affect markets. Of course, I'm sympathetic for people on both sides of the spectrum in regards to the innocent people that have had their lives turned upside down, both in Russia and the Ukraine, by this situation. But of course, as somebody who is an investor, a trader, it's of great importance to me that this situation gets resolved equitably. It gets resolved. It doesn't escalate, because that is, of course, a threat. But we're getting well into the realms of speculation now, which isn't. There's nothing wrong with speculating, guys. It's kind of how markets work. Unfortunately, markets are massively speculative. That's why they're drama queens. Really, they go to the up and down side over probably what they should frequently. But this is something to pay attention to, and it's something that I'm going to keep looking at and being cautiously optimistic with. I am all in crypto, but I have quite a bit of stablecoin on the side, more than I typically would. I just dollar cost average into my positions and continue to do so. So I have a lot of crypto, but in terms of, I obviously generate a number of income streams. That just kind of gets diversified into my DCA, and then I also I have added a little bit more dry powder in the form of stable coins ready to deploy into the crypto market as a result of everything going on. This is really interesting. Bitcoin holds steady as Luna Foundation Guard resumes purchasing. This is really cool how the Luna Foundation are actually buying up Bitcoin to add to their treasury. The Luna Foundation is responsible for, of course, TERRA, but mainly their TERRA UST, which is huge. It's part of Luna's success story is, of course, their UST. Something that I should have seen coming a long time ago, to be honest. Again, so much going on with the crypto space, sometimes it's hard to keep up with it all. But this has been a real revolutionary factor, and I think this is a trend that we're actually going to see continue with stablecoins. And stablecoin in that market is yet to really explode. The Forex market is the biggest market in the world, trillions slosh back in it daily. Are we going to see a similar thing replicated on the cryptocurrency space? Potentially. And I'm a big fan of what TERRA are doing. I own a small amount of TERRA. It's not anywhere near my largest crypto, but I really do like what they've done with their stablecoins. Mentioning the executive order, pivotal move for the crypto space, and the expansion of crypto just continues. Brazilian crypto asset manager poaches exec to lead European expansion. It's coming, guys. The world is yet to use crypto, but that's down the road, just in the same way that when the internet came out, look at it now, look at everything else. So that's really all I have for you in this video, guys. It was just a short and sweet one to keep you on your toes. If you've enjoyed this content, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.